Hello and welcome to Your New Jersey. I'm Lisa Marie Falbo. On today's show, we'll learn about Co-Home of Morristown, who creates inclusive homes for people with disabilities and their peers to live together as housemates. We'll also meet one of the women behind Fyfin Studios, a 10,000 square foot boutique post-production and office space based in Englewood Cliffs. But first, families across New Jersey are struggling to make ends meet as the things they need become more expensive. Joining me now to discuss his work in helping struggling families with inflation is Reverend Dr. Darrell Armstrong of the Shiloh Baptist Church. Reverend, thank you so much for coming on.
Thank you for having me. I'm really honored to be with you today.
Well, it's the holiday season and inflation is here. It's getting harder to put food on the table for a lot of people, never mind buying gifts and all the other trimmings that the holidays come with. So how does your work help those that are in need?
Well, we like to believe that we are called to work with the whole person, both in my ecclesiastical role and in my philanthropic role or in any other role. I want to make sure that we acknowledge that people are more than two-dimensional beings. They're really 3, 4, 5-dimensional beings. And so they need mental health care. They need spiritual health care. They need physical health care. They need educational health care. And so providing access to all of these different needs is really what makes the work that I'm trying to do and others with me, Pascal Sykes Foundation and other religious and nonprofit organizations. I really like partnering with folks who understand that we are working with people who bring multiple needs and have multiple dimensions to the table.
Well, your work with the Pascal Sykes Foundation focuses on helping families who are struggling to afford the things they need by using the whole family approach. What does that mean?
Well, the whole family approach is very much what I just referenced, that when we are working with children, we're not just working with children in isolation, we're working with families. And so, the former thought of social work used to be, let's fix the child, but not worry about the family. And the whole family approach is, how do we approach children and family from a holistic perspective and lens. And so that might mean families are more than just two-parent nuclear families, but it doesn't mean that they're not whole families. And so foster care families are whole families. Nuclear two-parent families, grandparent-led families, adoptive families, right? There are multiple types of families, and yet research tells us that where there are 2 or 3 consistent, caring adults in the life of children, then that family has greater opportunity for success. And that's what the Pascal Sykes Foundation believes, that 2 generations, the 2-generation whole family approach is about full-scale wraparound services to everyone in that particular household.
What services are you providing?
Well, there are services that meet multiple needs, such as employment opportunities. We realize that families can't be whole if they don't have access to employment opportunities. And so the Sykes Foundation and Fran Sykes and all that works with all who work with the foundation are concerned about meeting the needs as expressed by the family. And so if employment opportunities are the leading need, is that the main need the family presents with, then let's address that. If there are obviously staple services that we need to provide in terms of food and shelter, housing, but there are also ancillary needs. Prevention is a spectrum. And so when we're working on the spectrum of prevention, we're working with as far upstream as we possibly can to not just address needs, but also to prevent certain other things from happening. So there's primary, secondary, and tertiary prevention work that we are doing as a foundation, that I'm doing within my religious context, and that we do in partnering with other community-based organizations.
The foundation is hosting a summit to promote your whole family approach with First Lady Tammy Murphy and Dr. Bruce Perry. Tell us all about this event and what people can expect.
Well, we are absolutely ecstatic, excited, and elated to not only have the First Lady of our state, Tammy Murphy, representing her husband, of course, but certainly her amazing work with trying to build an early educational network and collaborative across the state that gives children the best start at the earliest start in their lives. So very grateful for the First Lady joining us on November the 16th. She's going to welcome us, and we are inviting providers and researchers and academicians and community-based organizations from all over the country, and I would even say all over the world, to attend what we're calling a research to policy forum that is going to feature world-renowned neuroscientist Dr. Bruce Perry. Dr. Bruce Perry, founder of the Child Trauma Academy, recently wrote a book with Oprah Winfrey entitled "What Happened to You?" And a lot of the question of social services of the old practice is, what's wrong with you? The question was asked, what's wrong with you? And Dr. Bruce Perry and Oprah Winfrey, and Oprah needs no introduction, they got together and collaborated, said, let's change the question. Because if you change the question, you also change the approach. And so the what is wrong with you has now been replaced by what happened to you. And so many families have had some level of adversity that has happened to them. And that we know that from ACEs research, Adverse Childhood Experience Study research that goes all the way back into the mid-1980s. So Dr. Bruce Perry is going to come and talk about his work and how his work comports with the Pascal Sykes to Gen whole family approach. We're also going to have a couple of panel of experts, subject matter experts. One panel is going to feature leaders from the Administration of Children and Family regions from around the country. There are 10 regions, ACF regions, Administration for Children and Families, and we're going to have the regional administrators from several of those regions with us.
That sounds like a jam-packed event. Where can people watching find out more and get their tickets?
Well, if you go to our website, www.pascalsykesfoundation.com, you can see the link to register for the event. And we would love to have thousands of individuals. It's a virtual event, so let me say that. I should say it's a hybrid event, excuse me. And so we will have a number of our panelists will be in person. Dr. Bruce Perry will be joining us virtually. But so this hybrid event is open to anyone and everyone around the country and around the world. I already know that we have guests registering in Liberia. We're hoping to have guests registering from in Korea and other places from around the country, around the world, and then from every state in the country and every county, every municipality. We believe that what we're presenting from a research perspective, and let me back up. I should say that the centerpiece of what we're going to be talking about that day, the panelists and Dr. Perry and all of the presentations will center around the research that the Pascal Sykes Foundation has been doing for the last several years. And so the research partners will be presenting the latest product and findings to us and to the world about the success and the merits of our approach. And so that is absolutely the centerpiece. And we want this research to live in other regions around the country and around the world. So you can register for the website by going to register for the webinar that day, November the 16th, from 9 a.m. to 3 p.m. by going to www.pascalsykesfoundation.com.
I know putting an event together of this scope, there's a lot of people working behind the scenes. Anybody you want to shout out?
Well, if I can just say this, I'm just representing a team of folk who have really been the engine around this research and around this work, starting from the board chair, Susan Carrillos at the Pascal Sykes Foundation, Fran Sykes, who is the visionary and founder of the foundation, her late husband Skip, and then the operational brains, Joni Van Ness and Rochelle Yamoa and Jackie Edwards, and the entire board. We want to thank everyone in advance, and we hope you will join us on November the 16th for our Research to Policy Practice. Thanks for having us today.
Reverend Dr. Darrell Armstrong, thank you so much for coming on the show. Congratulations for putting together such a wonderful event and for all of the amazing work that you do across the Garden State. We thank you. Co-Home is an organization that runs an apartment campus in Morristown aimed at helping adults with disabilities live on their own. Joining me now to discuss Co-Home is its co-founder, Nathaniel Diskett. Thank you so much for joining me, Nathaniel.
Thanks for having me, Lisa.
How does Co-Home help adults with disabilities create their own living situation?
Co-Home is an inclusionary housing organization. So what that means is we bring people together who have disabilities and those who don't experience disabilities, and we set them up in roommate situations to live together.
That's so wonderful. How does Co-Home help residents further develop their life skills living in that capacity?
We have a unique housing program. We have our own curriculum, and we work with residents through our facilitated social learning program that we affectionately call Social Club, because who would want to come to an FSLP? And through regular activities of daily living and special activities going out into the community, cooking meals together, inviting friends over, we work with them to develop, cooking skills, communication skills, job readiness, all sorts of things.
So when the residents of Co-Home are going out into the community, what's the reaction like?
When residents go into the community, it's really terrific. Morristown has a lot to offer, and there are a lot of local businesses that our folks like to patronize. So whether it's a resident who might live at one of our homes and walk downtown, grab a cup of coffee on their way to work, which is actually the reality every morning for my younger brother who lives with us. And then for other residents who go and enjoy, Meet Me in Morristown is an event that the town puts on, and Co-Home was actually featured at the Morristown Fall Festival. They created a special space in collaboration with Co-Home to help the festival be disability friendly, we called it, to invite folks who experience disability to come to the festival and have a safe space where they can come together with folks who are like them and folks who are understanding, to be at a very happening event in town that could otherwise be overstimulating. So we've had a really terrific response.
That's so special. Now, you mentioned your brother, and that leads into my next question as to how you got involved, but it sounds like it's even bigger than that.
So yeah, we started in 2016 because my family had a personal need, and that was that my younger brother, who had aged out of district-based supports, was looking to live on his own. My younger brother, Jeremy, experiences Down syndrome, and he's very capable. He works, and he has a lot of dreams, and we wanted to help him fulfill those. None of those dreams included being, more or less isolated in a licensed New Jersey group home, where he wouldn't have access to his community and to the lifestyle that he would like. He was also mainstreamed in school. And so like many others who experience disability, since the late 70s, early 80s, when mainstreaming really started taking up ground in public schools, Jeremy grew up in a mixed environment, in mixed classrooms alongside his peers who are neurotypical. And so in 2016, I left my job and started a home where Jeremy lived with a few others. We were not yet mixed. We were just learning as we were going. And so now, about 5-6 years later, we really have our feet under us. We have a beautiful program. We have lots of participants. We not only offer housing, we also now offer social programming facing the community, so folks can join us without actually living with us as well.
So you were working a different job before. What job was that?
I was actually working as a sports specialist in upstate New York.
So I guess you can say that Jeremy impacted the trajectory of your own life and fulfilled it in ways you probably never imagined.
100%, absolutely. And I like to say that I'm, on the face value of it, it looks like I made this for Jeremy. But selfishly, I also think of what it would be like for me if I were to experience a disability. And we've had many people come through our doors reaching out, looking for housing, looking for supportive services, who weren't born with a disability. And these individuals who might have had a traumatic brain injury or an underlying pre-existing genetic condition, and now in their 30s have started having seizures. And now they need supportive housing. And so from a selfish lens, when I think, where would I want to be if I needed supportive housing? 100% I can say I would want to live in Coahome.
What support services do you provide?
So our residents self-direct their own services. We think that's really important. We help our residents get the services they need and identify the supportive service areas that they need help with. But we think it's really important to put our residents in the driver's seat of their services so that they have control, so that their services are person-centered. And we're not saying, hey, the way that we're going to make more money is if we provide you services that you don't want, which is the way most models like this operate. Of course, what we've done there is we've taken away the most lucrative revenue source that programs like ours utilize. So we depend more on donations from the public. But it's a sacrifice we're happy to make because it's in our residents' best interest. And so our residents will receive services in the home, and that can be for all sorts of activities of daily living. And then out in the community, community-based supports to find a job if they don't yet have one, volunteer, pre-employment training, connecting them with day programs, whether that's pre-vocational training or day have, and all sorts of things like that.
How involved can the parents or guardians be in figuring out services and the process?
So we think it's really important for the parents to be involved. One thing that's unique about the disability space as a market segment is that many individuals with disabilities are not able to self-advocate like a typical market operator. So if you or I were to go to a yoga studio and we didn't like the services they were offering, we'd go to a different one. Same thing about any business, except in spaces where the consumer, in our instance, the client who experiences disability, is not able to pick up and leave and self-advocate in that way, which is not universal for all people who experience disability, but for many, then the quality of those services we see, devolves quite rapidly, meeting the demand, which isn't there really unless the services are family-driven. Something I try to coach some of our parents on is nobody will love your person like you do. It's not their job. And it's a really important distinction. It's something we can hope for, that an individual might, meet a person to develop a relationship with and have friends and have family, but it's not a reasonable expectation to place on folks providing them services to become their mother, to become their father or sibling. And so involving family in the process for those who are not able to self-advocate for themselves, it's really critical to ensure a high level of services. So we invite our families in. They come to us regularly. Transparency is key in this space.
That's very important. And I love that advice that you give. So where can people find out more about Coahome and the process to become a resident?
So online, we have a website at www.coahome.org. And through there, you can reach out. We also have an email address, helpdesk@coahome.org. Folks can drop us a line and we'll get in touch to get them through the application process. We're also on Instagram at @Coahome_Morristown. and Facebook and, the rest of it. And we very much welcome folks to reach out.
Well, we have to thank our mutual friend, Lori Sika, for bringing us together for this segment today. Nathaniel, thank you so much for everything you're doing for those in need in Morristown and beyond. And you're brother of the century, that's for sure.
Well, thank you, Lisa. I really appreciate it.
Fyfin Studios recently opened a new 10,000 square foot facility in Englewood Cliffs. Joining me now to discuss the new studio is Fyfin CEO, Jane Sinisi. Thank you so much for coming on today, Jane.
Thank you so much for having me. I really appreciate it.
Well, I love meeting other women in positions of power, especially in the production industry. So let's get down to it. What is Fyfin Studios?
Well, basically, we are the only post-production space in New Jersey, female-run, female-led. We have an amazing operator too, All Day Sanchez, who runs the technical aspects of the studio. It's a beautiful 10,000 square foot space with production office space and along with post-production space where you can edit, sound, color and whatnot. And we also have a 25-person private theater that we built for screenings and editing as well.
How long did it take to bring this vision to life?
Honestly, from conception to ribbon cutting, 2 years exact. And this was all during COVID, and we had some hurdles, we did not stop. We kept going, and I have to owe that to, the construction team, my team at Oster Management, who ran the construction here. We did not stop when we hit any hiccups. We kept going just so we could open the studio in time for all these movies to be made in New Jersey, so we could be the post house for everything.
We mentioned at the top of this segment that it's a women-owned studio, which I love so much. So talk about the other women involved.
My business partner is Molly Connors. We actually met probably about 7 years ago on a film project we were producing. And I was just one of the producers, an executive producer, and I just fell in love with her energy and her just drive. And she is a go-getter. And we partnered up with Fyfin Pictures, and we've made a few films. And when the pandemic hit and movies weren't being made, we said, what else can we do? And with the tax incentive in New Jersey, we said, I think they need a post-production house here. There's nothing here. And we had the space and we said, let's go for it. And we took our dream and made it a reality and couldn't be more happier.
Talk about your background. Are you a lifelong New Jersey resident?
I am a lifelong New Jersey resident. I temporarily moved to New York for college. I was an NYU student and moved back when I came back to run the real estate aspect of my company as well. I do real estate as well as film, which actually these days is really partnering up in New Jersey. There's a whole partnership there that's very interesting. And I love being back here. I just had a baby 4 months ago, and I just love that this film legacy can live here too. And it's so important for me to be a part of this New Jersey tax incentive and the film industry here as somebody that's from here.
So I have to ask the question because I'm the mother of a toddler myself. Mm-hmm. And I always want to know, how do you balance all of this with a baby?
Takes a village, right? It takes a village to make a movie. It takes a village to raise a baby. And I couldn't do it without that village, to be completely honest. Everybody has their roles, but at the end of the night, I get to take my baby and kiss his little roles, along with my daughter, who is absolutely exceptional. She's 12. I love her. And she's been such an amazing help as well. And my husband. It's a team effort. And we didn't stop. Once, I think probably the day after I had the baby, I was on the phone. Where's the status of the studio? I didn't stop for a beat.
Let's circle back to the projects that you've undertaken since you've opened.
We're working on a few projects that I can't really disclose everything right now, but we've been running dailies. We're currently working on a film. Our office space is functioning, our post office space is functioning. We're getting calls all the time from the New Jersey Film Commission. How can you help us? Because we were kind of ahead of the game. They announced a lot of larger studios opening, and they're just groundbreaking now, and we're done. We're ready to open. We're open. We're not ready to open. We are open. So we're ahead of the game here, which is pretty impressive to most people. And again, I think that it's the drive that we had. A lot of people stopped in COVID. They took a breath. What can I do? And we were just chomping at the bit. Let's get it done. Let's get it done.
Where can people find out more about you and the studio?
They can Google us at fifenstudios.com, fifenpictures.com. We are here. We are open. We are ready to go. Please, we want to be part of the New Jersey Tax Incentive. We're proud to be here, and we're not going anywhere. We're just going to grow and grow.
Jane, thank you so much for coming on, and congratulations on all of your success.
Thank you so much. I really appreciate it.
Thank you for joining me on another episode of Your New Jersey. I'm Lisa Marie Falbo. We'll see you back here next week.